Hello, you're on the male narrative channel, make yourself comfortable and we'll get started. Angela opened her eyes. A huge hammer was beating intensely in her head. It felt like that hammer was about to smash my brain to bits. She was dizzy. She didn't recognize the ceiling of the room. She was lying in a spacious bed, covered with a soft blanket, alone and completely naked. Memories came with difficulty. The corporate party, the alcohol, the dancing, and Boris. Boris, the young manager who had taken on the role of her beau in her husband's absence. The last memory added to her headache, her husband. She remembered how all evening Boris had literally never left her side, not a meter away. He courted her, served her hors d'oeuvres, poured wine, was a partner in all the dances, told her jokes, complimented her. It was too much, one last glass of champagne for a toast. Then a cab, Boris's hot embrace and kiss, and her desire. The desire to keep going. Oh, shit, Angela thought. What have I done? What will I tell Zhinka at home? They're waiting for me there with Katushka. Angela stood up, but the hammer in her head began to pound harder. Her clothes were hung neatly on the back of the chair, her underwear was there. Boris entered the bedroom, holding a tray on which stood 2 flutes of wine, 3 sandwiches with red caviar, a vase of chocolates and a small vase with a red rose. Angela instinctively covered herself. Goldie, you don't have to be shy, I've seen everything, and more, Boris said. All the more, it's a sin to hide such beauty. He smiled. Sit down, I'll treat you. Where am I? Angela asked. That's a stupid question. Boris retorted. Especially since you asked to come to my place yesterday. I couldn't, I wanted to, the memory returned. She had really asked Boris. And to her horror, she remembered that she had. And not just that. I remembered how, after closing the door of the apartment behind them, they began to tear off each other's clothes. How, caressing each other, they went into the bedroom and fell on the bed. How she had cried out, surrendering to Boris's strong arms, that this was the best thing she had had in the last 12 years of married life. Then the memories came flooding back, in fragmented snippets. Bed, sex, shower, champagne, failure. Angela covered her face with her hands. Give me something to put on myself. I'm not going to sit in front of you naked. She demanded of Boris. I have a terry robe. I stole it from a hotel in Egypt. Will it fit? I don't care, as long as you don't see me like this. Angela thought about her husband and her daughter. How could I? She thought. 12 years with my husband and I've never looked at anyone, and now this. What's going to happen now and what's to be done? Boris came back with a robe. Here, take it, please. He held out the robe to the woman. Don't be upset, everything will be all right. You'll figure something out. What will I think of? Said Angela, putting on her robe. This has never happened to me, you hear, never. What will I tell my husband? What will I say about my daughter? I promised I'd be home before midnight. Sweetheart, Boris didn't get a chance to finish. I'm not your sunshine and I'm not your sweetheart. Angela cut him off. Really? Boris got angry. And yesterday you said you loved me. Where's my purse? Angela opened her purse and looked through everything. Where's my phone? How would I know? Boris was surprised. You were following me around like a glued man yesterday. So what? I don't look in other people's bags, especially not a woman's. God, that was the last thing we needed. Angela cried. Boris took the ursines from the trays. One handed to Angela. Here, sweetheart, drink it and calm down, and then we'll decide together what to do. I'm not your sunshine, stop calling me that. I love my husband. And he's the only one who can call me that. Okay, I'm sorry. I'll try. Boris moved to the bed next to Angela. Listen, let's call Vika. You seem to get along with her, but your husband doesn't know her, she's new. Just give her the details, she's an understanding girl. Are you suggesting I lie to my husband? I cheated on him, you know. I betrayed him. Struck a blow to a vulnerable spot. Angela took the glass. I can't stand the sight of alcohol, and you're making me drink. The woman wrinkled her nose and set down her flute. First of all, everything that happened to you and me happened by accident. I guess you could say unknowingly. You see, there was a spark, a passion, and that was it. Now the passion has subsided, and we have to think how to get you out of the situation. I'm going to tell my husband. Angela stared at one point. I can't lie to him. Are you crazy? He's gonna kill you. No, he loves me. He hasn't even raised his voice to me once since we've known each other. Then I don't know how to help you. Boris stood up and paced back and forth. I've told you my option, and I don't have any others. Borja, stop flashing your eyes. Angela asked. Sit down. You're probably right. If I told my husband the truth, it would ruin everything. And I don't want to lose my husband and my daughter. Angela, don't worry so much. Boris put his arm around her. It's no big deal. A little fling on the side never hurt anyone, and in your case, 1 in 12 years. You got to have some variety. Okay. Chuckles. I don't have a cell phone. So you're gonna have to make the call. Now get out of the room, I'll get dressed, and I'll go get cleaned up. I hope you have a big mirror. Maybe we could do it again before we go. Boris looked at Angela seriously and expectantly. Yesterday you said, I love you, and today you're keeping your distance. You're out of your mind. Forget it. Never again. Whatever you say, sunshine. Boris left the room with a sad face. Angela was met at home only by her daughter. Mommy, where have you been? Hugging her mom, her daughter asked. Did your phone break or something? Why didn't you call? Daddy was up all night. He called your friends and colleagues, and he called your grandmother, who will be here soon. Where is Daddy now? Asked Angela. He went to some coworker of yours, looking for you. Someone told him that you left with another man. Is that true, Mom? Bunny, that man just gave us a ride to another friend and coworker of mine who I stayed with. Tears flowed from Angela's eyes. Bunny, give me your cell phone, I'll call my dad, I left mine somewhere. Katushka quickly ran to her room and brought out her phone. Mommy, why are you crying? Katia asked helpfully. It's okay, though. You're home, and Daddy will be glad when he comes back and sees you. Angela dialed her husband. Hello, Zaneka, my love, I'm home. I'm sorry I didn't come home. And I lost my phone somewhere. Okay, sweetheart, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to make dinner. Yes, I know my mom is coming, Katushka already told me. Good, I'm waiting for you very much. The fact that her husband called her by her full name, Angelica, in a telephone conversation was an indication that her husband was offended or very angry. Whenever they had any friction or arguments in the family, he always called her by her full name. Usually he called her shortly, Lika, or affectionately, Likusha. Angela changed her clothes, took a shower and went to the kitchen. Her mind was a mess. Thoughts filled her head, and she didn't know which one to grab onto. Vika took it grudgingly when Angela called her from Boris and asked her to help her with a delicate matter. Anyway, friend. She spoke coldly, listening to her colleague's request. This is the first and last time. I'll cover for you, of course, but don't drag me into your dirty games again. I never thought you, Angelica, would be capable of such a thing. Vika continued. And how will you look your husband in the eyes now? I don't understand you. What's my husband to you? Angela said with a hint of anger. He's mine. I love him. Boris and I had nothing. But that's for you to tell your husband. And yesterday you could see how much you loved him. Vika remembered with horror how, dancing with Boris near the bar in the semi-darkness, he had whispered all kinds of tender nonsense and compliments to her, kissed her toes, and in the dance held her obviously not behind her back, and she had kissed his forehead and whispered something back. It was kind of dark and no one could see. Some were at the table drinking, others were dancing. No one seemed to be paying attention to them. Turns out he didn't. Come on, Vika. It didn't mean anything to me, said Angela. Vika laughed. So it's okay that you went to Boris's house for the night, said Vika, and switched to a serious tone. Let's finish this useless talk. I'm sick of listening to these fairy tales. I'm a big girl now. We agreed and that was it. Let's close the topic and end the conversation. It was said in a way that made Angela realize she would now owe Vika, and now she was on the hook. You know, your husband, very nice, Vika said instead of saying goodbye and hung up. Angela was angry. I never thought that Vika was such a scoundrel. She's only seen my husband once, and she's already got her eye on him. Angela thought. How am I going to show up for work now? I guess I'll have to find another one. Angela's mom arrived. Daughter, what's wrong? Where did you disappear to? Genya cut off my phone, calling me and asking if you had come or called. Elizaveta Sergeyevna looked at her daughter with concern, and stroked her cheek. Thank God you're all right. Where's Seneca? Mom, he'll be right there. Come into the kitchen, we'll have tea now. Angela tried to shift the conversation to another plane. How are you feeling, Mom? How is your health? Alive, and thank God. But my joints start to ache before bad weather, so I use ointment on them, and it's all right. And your neighbor, Svetlana Danilovna, how is she? You seem to be friends with her. She's gone to Chelyabinsk to visit her children. Thank you, Vika, thank you so much. I was worried. She left and disappeared. I had no idea where to look. Good thing your colleague Boris said you had her. I came straight from him to you. I'm sorry for invading your privacy by barging in so unceremoniously. Eugene felt awkward standing in front of this pretty, fragile woman. It's nothing, Eugene, what's your patronymic? Vika asked, smiling. Andreevich. But you, Vika, can just call me Genya. I'm sorry, Yevgeny Andreevich, I don't know how to switch to you at once, but I ask you not to pay any attention to it. Would you like anything? Tea, coffee, or something stronger? Vika offered. Oh no, thank you. I'm driving. But I wouldn't say no to a stronger coffee. Seeing Eugene off, Vika handed him a piece of paper. This is my phone number, in case you lose your wife again. Call anytime, don't hesitate. She smiled. I'm not much of a guest, but you'd be welcome. Eugene took the phone, kissed Vika's hand like a gentleman, and, thanking her, left. Everything was falling apart at Angela's hands. She sat down tiredly on the kitchen sofa. There was only one thought on her mind right now. What will Vika tell her husband? And Borka as if he hadn't said something unnecessary. He's still young, but he says things without thinking. How are we supposed to take my husband to her firm for the holidays? Still have to change the place of work. Elizaveta Sergeyevna interrupted her daughter's unhappy thoughts. Well, since you're home, I think I'll go home. The locksmith should come to my house tonight, the faucet in the bathroom is leaking. Mom, why didn't you ask Shinka? He would have done everything, but the plumber has to be paid. It's nothing, my daughter. Why should I bother your husband about such trivial matters? He's got enough to worry about. He's at work from morning till night. Why should I take a man away from his everyday life? The main thing I want is for you two to be okay. I'll go, see me off." When Eugene returned home, his mother-in-law had already left. Angela met her husband with a guilty look on her face. She hugged her husband, kissed him, and rested her cheek against his shoulder. "Angelica, why didn't you go home right away? Because from your work, it's closer than to Vicky?" Eugene asked his wife. "Especially since you knew perfectly well that I was waiting for you at home. And where's your cell phone? Why didn't you call me from Vicky? You know my phone number by heart, don't you?" Stroking his wife's hair, Eugene continued. "I called all your acquaintances, I kept your mom awake, I called all the hospitals. It was good that one of your colleagues advised me to call Boris. Said he saw you leaving with him in a cab. The three of us left." Angela interrupted her husband. "It so happened that they called Vicky's address first, and the cab driver took her there. Especially since I was drunk, and I don't remember very well." Angela lowered her eyes. "Lakusha, would you call? Or would you ask Vika to call me? It's not difficult. You know very well that I'm always very worried about you." Angela noticed that her husband changed his resentful tone to a condescending one. "I told you I was really drunk, I'm sorry." Angela became resentful and tears came to her eyes. She took offense. "I wasn't mad at myself, but at my husband. You could have come with me," she thought. They should have taken Katushka to her mom. No, he decided to show once again what a good father he is. "We would have gone together, and none of this would have happened." "How come? Vika told me you were still talking long after you arrived and drinking wine." The husband looked Angela in the eye. "And what was the conversation about? What a goat," Angela thought. Why the hell did she tell Zhinka too much? We didn't agree on that. I told her what to say. We arrived and went straight to bed. Since when did you become interested in women's talk? Smiling forcefully and wiping away her tears, Angela asked. You've never been interested in women's gossip? I wasn't interested this time either, that's why I'm asking you. The husband was embarrassed. It was nothing. We talked about clothes, salary, and a lot of other things. I don't remember everything. I didn't even want to talk, it was all Vika. She's a big talker. While saying this, Angela herself was thinking about how to end this conversation. And then her husband, without realizing it, gave his wife a trump card. You know, Leek, I wouldn't say that. As we drank coffee, she was practically silent. She only asked me where and what I worked. Angela immediately took the initiative. Making a suspicious face, she went on the attack. Oh, so you two also had coffee together? Well, we drank, why? Eugene was surprised. Didn't you offer anything stronger? Continuing her attack, Angela asked. We did. Opshev, muttered the husband. But I only had coffee, I've been up all night, and here I was driving, I was just tired, I wanted to cheer up. Already making excuses, the husband said. I'm waiting for you, and he's having coffee with our new employee. Let's go to lunch, because everything is already cold. Anger at her husband and anger at Vika were boiling inside Angela. And then they saw their daughter looking at them with wide eyes. Mom, Dad, are you guys fighting? Katya asked. No, sweetie, we're not swearing. Angela squatted down beside her daughter, wondering why. Then why were you talking so loudly to Daddy? Katya looked at her mother perplexed. Was I? I hadn't noticed. Come, wash your hands, we'll eat now. They ate in silence. Only Katya broke the silence. Daddy, you promised to take me to the zoo and tell me all about the seals and the sea lions. Of course we will, honey. If you promised, we'll go. Next weekend, we'll all go together. Angela calmed down. She was satisfied. There was no more questioning, resentment and bewilderment on the part of her husband. Wanting to completely defuse the situation, Angela, after an evening shower, decided to have passionate sex for her husband. When she crawled under the blanket, it turned out that he was already sound asleep. When Angela arrived at work on Monday morning, she didn't notice any slanted glances in her direction or mysterious whispers. Apparently, it's not as bad as Vika made it out to me, she thought. At lunchtime, she approached her friend. "Shall we go to lunch?" Angela asked. "We can go, although honestly, I'm not hungry," Vika answered. They cozied up at a table in the very corner of the cafe and ordered food. "Listen, Vika, why did you say unnecessary things to my husband? You put me in an awkward position." "Sorry, dear, I had to improvise when your husband asked questions that weren't on the list of our arrangement." "Lazy," Vika said. "I don't see how you could leave a man like that alone." "I would never leave him, even after 100 years of living together." Her friend asked languidly. "How's your daughter?" "Actually, I didn't leave him, he didn't come with me." Determined to meet his daughter and score some parent-child relationship points. "Vika, please don't stray away from the main topic of conversation," sternly muttered Angela. "Why did you invite him over to your place, for coffee?" "Honey, it's just a common gesture of courtesy and hospitality." "What did you want me to do, lie in his face that you were here and slam the door in his face or something?" Vika was slightly annoyed. "My husband doesn't need your hospitality." Angela was starting to get angry, too. "Really? Did you see his face at that moment?" Vika continued. "There was fear and hope on his face. Fear for you, and hope you're okay. I wish I could be so worried about me. My husband is a very practical, decent and understanding man. He understood me perfectly, and he has no more questions for me." Angela raised her tone. "You want one of those, look elsewhere. What are you, jealous?" Vicky's eyes rounded and she laughed. "Gee, Angelka." Through her laughter, her friend continued. "What do you even understand? I love Genya, and I'm not going to give him away to anyone." Angela glared angrily at Vika. "Fine, then sell it." Vika calmed down. "Or trade. Let's make a barter deal. I to you Boris, you to me, your husband." "What are you, stupid?" Angela said. "Borka and I had nothing. Don't tell me fairy tales, my dear. You've only known me and Borka for a short time, but I know this guy well enough. We work together in the same firm, but not for long. And to make matters worse, I've been in his bed too. And half of the female staff of the firm have been there too. But I'm a free woman." Vika finished echidna. "The boy, though young, is a skillful lover." Vika smiled. "I don't care about Boris, I'm married. I won't go near him, and I won't let him near me. And let's drop the subject," said Angela. "Never, never say never," replied Vika. The waiter brought the girl's order. The post-corporate affair continued. Although Angela scolded herself in her heart with the last words, and even tried to stop seeing Boris, nothing worked. Every time she came home from Boris's, she told herself that it was the last time. She even turned Boris down a few times, saying it was over. That her family was more precious to her than one-time pleasures. But she only lasted a week. At work, she and Boris had agreed that apart from a working relationship, no other relationships were to be shown. 11 months passed. It seemed to Angela that everything was normal, no one knew anything, no one guessed anything, everything was under control. Even Vika, who earlier would not miss a moment to tease Angela, kept silent. Angela explained her delays to her husband by being very busy at work. She and Boris managed to go on vacation a couple of times. She told Junka she was going on a business trip. It was Katya's birthday. When the guests left, Genya helped his wife clear the table, put his daughter to bed and returned to the kitchen to help Angela wash the dishes. "Lika," Genya said. "I think we need to have a serious talk." "Honey, about what?" Angela asked with a smile. "About us, of course." Eugene's face was very serious. "I want to ask you, how long is this going to go on? Should I wait?" "Wait for what, honey?" Angela continued to smile. "Please Lika, don't call me cute, I don't like that word. You've never called me sweetheart, just for the last 6 months." Her husband's face was tense. "I want to know when your affair on the side will end. And will it end at all? I've waited and waited too long. But there's a limit to my patience. It is only my love for you and my daughter that keeps me from foolishness and scandal. I can leave if you need me to." Angela sat on the kitchen sofa and stared at her husband. Her husband's long tirade left her completely confused. But she managed to pull herself together. "What affair, darling? What do you think you're doing? You can call your lover sweetheart, Angelica, but I can't stand that word." Eugene became angry. "What do you think I'm blind, a fool, an unfeeling oaf, or whatever you think I am? Genya, what are you? What are you talking about now? I don't understand." Angela tried to play off her utter bewilderment. "Explain to me, what affair, with whom? What's gotten into you today?" "Today? No, Angelica, not today." Genya calmed down. 10 months ago, maybe even earlier. Just obvious signs, I noticed 10 months ago." "And what did you notice, love?" Angela leaned back on the back of the couch and put her leg over her foot. She continued to feign innocence and complete incomprehension of the conversation. "Share what you noticed." Inside Angela, an emptiness formed. She was concentrating on who had reported them. Where did they screw up? How did Jinka find out? "I'll stand my ground until the end," Angela decided to herself. "All right, Angelica." Eugene rubbed his tense forehead. "Let's start with the fact that we sleep like roommates. We don't have proper sex, not for about 7 months now. Sometimes you're tired, sometimes you don't feel well. And sometimes you stay up late on purpose, cooking or cleaning. I know, waiting for me to fall asleep. If I do wait for you, you're cold as ice. You've even stopped kissing me before you go to bed." My husband paced back and forth in the kitchen, the tension still on his face. "We don't go anywhere together. Think back to when we went out as a family. Don't you remember? That was 11 months ago. Right after you didn't come back from the corporate retreat. We went to the zoo. 3 times I asked you to go to the restaurant, and you said no. I haven't counted how many times I've been to coffee shops, movies, or just for a walk. Sometimes I feel like you're even squeamish about me. Especially in bed, during intercourse, you wrinkle your nose." "Genya, listen, but I already explained to you that at work." She didn't finish, her husband interrupted her. "The workload has doubled, I remember. And be kind and obliging, don't interrupt me, please." Angela was angry with her husband. Wow, he memorized and remembered everything. And he didn't want to talk to me all this time. If he saw everything and knew, why didn't he stop? I guess he doesn't care about me. He's at work from morning till night, and I'm sitting here like an idiot waiting. He's an angel, too. Angela thought. Well, I'm going to tell you now. You accuse me, you don't know what you're accusing me of. And the last time he gave me flowers was the last time he gave me flowers. Evil? Asked Angela. Flowers, you say? And you don't remember? Oh yes. You came in late that day, you were late for work. My husband smiled wryly. You didn't even notice. They've been in a vase on the windowsill for almost a week. I guess it's funny, but sadly, I never stopped giving them to you. You just stopped noticing them. It just so happens that when I came by with the bouquet, you weren't home. A couple or 3 times, I left them in the hall, on the table. But even there, you managed not to see them. Eugene was hurt. He loved his wife, he wanted to give her a chance. He thought that if Angela apologized, he would forgive her. Maybe they would even leave to start all over again. But the wife did not confess, and on the contrary, she kept denying it more and more. The husband wanted to tell her about a new men's shirt he had found, obviously a gift for someone, not his size. About the new lingerie Angela had so much of that it took up half the dresser. About all the trinkets, gold chains and rings he didn't buy for his wife. About the fact that at work his wife had 2 more corporate parties, but his wife went alone without calling him, although he knew that the management of the company always invited the wives and husbands of employees. And a lot of other things. I realized there was no conversation to be had. "I'm going to bed, I have to get up early tomorrow," said Johnny. "Good night." He heard him follow. He turned around and smirked. "Wow. Did you remember that we said good night to each other?" He moved toward the hall. "I'm going to sleep in the hall tonight, on the couch. I don't want you to be embarrassed by my presence." He threw it away. "And no need to protest, please." Angela was left alone in the kitchen. In the morning, when she got to work, Angela took the moment when Vika was alone and came up to her and angrily hissed at her with accusations. "What, did you decide to play the virtuous one?" Angela threw the words angrily in her colleague's face. "Who asked you to tell Jinka everything? What do you want more than anyone else? Or maybe you decided to get your hands on my husband. I told you to look elsewhere." Vicky's mouth dropped open in surprise and her eyes widened. But when she realized it, she changed her surprise to a grin. "Aha, so you're caught, lovebirds," Vika said with a slight smile. "Well, there's a pattern. No matter how many strings you pull. I only asked you to help. Just to help me out one time. And you decided to destroy my family. You're such an asshole, Vika. Don't you dare even come near my husband." Angela squinted her eyes threateningly. Vika laughed openly. "You're a fool, Angela. The whole firm knows about your relationship with Boris. What about Genya? If I wanted him gone, I would have found a way to do it." Vika got serious. "Before you accuse me of something, you need to get to the bottom of it. You're running around with your Boris like a piece of paper. No matter how much you hide your relationship, you're not very good at it. Yesterday, on his way out of the smoking room, he slapped you on the soft spot. You think I was the only one who saw it. 2 hours later, everyone knew the news. So you didn't say anything to wife?" Angela asked in surprise and disbelief. "I don't care about your relationship. Do whatever you want. I'll tell you one thing, friend, you can't sit on 2 stools. I stay out of other people's business and families." Angela decided to put an end to her relationship with Boris. Calling Boris into the smoking room, she told him. "Boris, my husband knows everything, and I can't see you anymore. At work, too, everyone knows. From now on, it's over between us." Vika had just returned from work when her phone rang. An unknown number called. She picked up. "Hello? Vika?" A dry, male voice sounded in the receiver. "Hello?" A woman answered. "This is Senior Lieutenant Zakharov, Senior Inspector for Search and Rescue. May I ask, who is Yevgeny Andreevich Belayev to you?" "No one, actually. He's the husband of a colleague of mine." "What's wrong?" Vika got worried. There was a traffic accident, in which he was injured and is now in intensive care. According to the doctor's conclusion, he became ill while driving, his heart. Unfortunately, we have been unable to reach his wife, her cell phone is unavailable. So we went through the alphabetical order of his phone, and we're calling you. Here is the phone number of the intensive care unit, please give it to his wife. Can you do that?" Yes, of course I will, thank you, goodbye. Goodbye. The inspector said goodbye. Vika dialed Angela. The phone was unavailable. What an idiot. Vika thought. Her husband is dying there, and she's making out with her lover. Even though Angela decided to end her relationship with Boris, she decided to have one last goodbye sex. This is the last time. She thought. Enough of trying her husband's patience. Coming out of the shower, she said. That's it, Barenka, we won't have anything more. Why? Boris was surprised. I told you that my husband knows everything, and not only him. And my daughter has been looking at me suspiciously for a long time. She's 12 now, and she seems to be guessing something. Angela threw a wet towel at Borja. My husband, a very good and kind man. He's safe and secure. So that's it. I'll leave you and change jobs. Sweetie. If this is the last time, maybe you could stay the night. Boris said faintly, resentfully. I won't see you again. Stay, please. Boris got out of bed and walked over to Angela. Don't go, stay. Boris pulled the woman to him. I'm in love with you. Angela got an electric shock. You fell in love with me. She looked the man in the eye. But you're 8 years younger than me. And for me, age is no object. Boris stated. The young man was lying. He was just comfortable with this woman. She didn't ask for anything, reliable sex, what more does a man need? Inexpensive gifts for her, that was practically all the expense. That's why Boris didn't want to let her go. You really do love me. Angela can't. He knew to look Boris in the eye. Why do you doubt it, sweetheart? How can I prove it to you? With resentment in his voice, the man said. He knew Angela would never leave her husband and daughter. Okay, I'll stay. After the third call to Angela, when Vic's cell phone said the caller was unavailable or out of range, she was angry with herself. God, there's a person dying, maybe he needs help, medicine, or just someone's participation, and I'm sitting here wasting my time. Vika got through to the intensive care unit after the third time. Having written down everything she needed, she pulled herself together and rushed to the door. Her husband's phone was unavailable. Angela wanted to lie to him that she had an unexpected work emergency and would have to stay at work until morning. He must have been offended. She thought. She dialed her daughter. The phone didn't answer. I think Shinka will forgive me. He said he was ready to forgive me. I'll come home from work tomorrow and tell him I want to change jobs because of his stupid suspicions. I've decided to myself, Angela. Barenka, pour us some champagne. The woman asked playfully. Now, my sunshine, it will be done right away. Boris responded. I guess he really does. Angela thought and crawled under the blanket. Boris was young, but he knew how to make dust in the eyes. His manners, behavior and actions always made it possible to make a woman feel at ease. Plus the skill of dressing, conversation and courtship. Naturally, a man's natural attraction played no small part. Hence the many romances during his short life. After drinking champagne, Angela and Boris dissolved into each other, completely forgetting about everything and everyone. Vika ran into a boutique. She chose a tracksuit by visual memory, and in a neighboring store she bought pajamas and soft men's house slippers. I bought some adult diapers at the pharmacy, some medicine that the doctors asked for. Then she ran to the grocery store and bought apples, oranges and tangerines. By any means necessary, she managed to get to the intensive care unit. The nursing staff was just loading Eugene onto a gurney to transfer him to the general ward. The injuries were serious, but not life-threatening. A fracture of the right leg, a slight concussion and a microinfarction, which caused Eugene to lose control of the car for a couple of seconds, which were enough to get into a traffic accident. Eugene had already regained consciousness, but he was very weak and spoke very quietly. When Vika saw him, she cried. She sat down beside the bed. "Where is it, Angela?" barely audibly asked Eugene. Vika staggered. She must have known where she was. But what to say to a man in the state Johnny was in? I'd have to lie. Vika thought. Trauma, plus the heart. You can't worry a man right now, no way. She thought. Zinieka, she's working overtime. You see, the chief left 3 people at the last minute. Angela, Boris and Svetlana Petrovna, the head accountant, you know her. Remember, you can't mistake her for anyone else, she's the biggest woman in our firm. Tears came to Vika's eyes. Large tears fell from her eyelashes and fell on her lap. Why are you crying? Asked Eugene. You're not deceiving me, Vika. No, I'm not. Of course I'm not. I'm crying with joy that you're alive. Vika, please come to my house, Katushka is alone there. Make sure she's okay. Feed her, help her with her homework. Stay with her until Angela gets back. I've got the keys to the apartment here in my nightstand. Genya closed his eyes. Okay, Zineka, don't worry, I'll do everything. Vika said and got up from the chair. Get well soon, and if you need anything, call me anytime, I'll be there. She gave him a sad smile and went to the exit. Vika was waiting for Katia. She came in, it was 9 p.m. Hello, Katia, said Vika. I'm here at your dad's request. My name is Vika, I work with your mom. And mom is at work again? Katia asked. I don't think so. Come on, I'll make you something for dinner and we can talk about it. I think that you are an adult, and you should understand everything correctly. Sitting at the table, Vika didn't know where to start. Katusha, don't be frightened. Anyway, Dad's in the hospital, and I was at his place. He gave me the keys to your apartment. Vika was nervous. He has a little health problem, but it's nothing serious. We can go to him tomorrow, as soon as you're free after school. Are you Daddy's mistress or something? Katia asked unexpectedly. Vika was embarrassed. What makes you think so? You're pretty, and I think Dad would like you very much. Katia spoke without innuendo. I can see that Mom and Dad's relationship has deteriorated. Mom is often late at work, and Dad is always worried about her. So I thought Dad had another woman. No, Katia, I'm not your father's mistress. Although I can't deny that I like him very much. Vika blushed. I see. Katia sighed. Mom's gone again. What is she doing there at work? Vika blushed again. That's what I wanted to talk to you about. Vika looked into the girl's eyes. You see, in the life of adults, there are times when they lose themselves and are deceived, taking wishful thinking for reality. And at that moment, they start to make stupid and unforgivable mistakes. That's the mistake your mom made. So, are you saying that one of your parents made that mistake or something? Yes, Katia. I don't feel like saying that at all. But it was your mother who made such a mistake. Vika was confused, not knowing how to explain to Katia about Angela in a softer and more tactful way. Your mom. Vika stammered. She'd met a man. I mean, she hadn't. They worked together. And now they're together. But not at work, at that man's house. Katia pressed her lips together. Tears ran down her cheeks. I understand everything, Vika. You don't need to tell me anything further. Katia went to her room and came back with her phone. I went to a friend's house and left my phone at home, charging. I'll call my mom. Katia dialed her mother's phone and put it on speaker. The subscriber is unavailable or out of range. I'm sorry, Katusha. Vika took the girl's hand. Don't be upset, please, she said, seeing that Katia was about to burst. Did you do your homework? Dad asked me to help you if you had any questions about your homework. Vika tried to turn the conversation to another topic. I'm all done, I don't need any help, thank you. You can stay with me until Mom gets here. I'm very lonely. And don't tell Mom that Dad's in the hospital. I don't think she needs to know. And I'll make arrangements with Dad tomorrow morning before school. Which hospital is Daddy in? Of course I'll stay. Vika smiled. Good, I won't say anything to Mom. And Dad is in such and such a hospital, Vika said the number of the hospital and the room. God, Vika thought. The girl doesn't get enough attention. Angelika has completely forgotten about her daughter, and her father just doesn't have time. Then I want to go to bed early, said Katia. You'll sit with me until I fall asleep. Of course, darling, go to bed. I'll lie down with you, too, may I? Come on, it's a big bed, there's plenty of room. Good night, Katia. Good night, Katia replied. When she arrived at work, Angela dialed her husband first. Good morning, kitty cat. Sorry I didn't come home last night, I had to rush some paperwork for the tech department. I didn't realize it would take all night. I'm so tired, and I have all day to deal with this paperwork. Hello, kitty cat. It's okay, it's okay. Eugene replied. I understand you perfectly well, work, if it is so necessary. Angela did not even pay attention to the fact that for the first time he called her kitty, that her husband was as calm as ever, and for the first time in 3 months did not show any emotion at her words about being away from home. How is Katia? Angela asked in a concerned tone. Everything is fine, she went to school. At that moment, Angela's gaze met Vicky's scornful look. I'll be home early today, I'm so tired. Angela gave a fake sigh. Bye, bye. I'll see you tonight. Angela's out. Why are you looking at me like that? Angela asked Vika angrily. I can watch it any way I want. Vika was angry. You don't tell me who to look at or how to look. And I'm gonna ask you not to talk to me at all anymore. I hate talking to you. Oh, 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 oh. Angela made a grimace. How correct and sensitive we are. Vika didn't answer, but headed for the principal's office. Vika took an afternoon off from work and went straight to the hospital to see Eugene. On the way, she bought some fruit, kefir and muffins. When she entered the room, Katia was sitting next to Eugene. Hi. Vika nodded to the girl. Hi. It's Katia. Well, how are we doing? Vika turned to Eugene. Can I sit here? Sure, sit down. Answered for Katia's father. Vika handed the bag of goodies to Katia. Thank you, Vika, I'm very pleased that you came. Vika blushed. It felt good to me, too. She said. How are you feeling? Not bad at all. Eugene smiled. I'm thinking of escaping from the hospital, early. Well, will you help me? Eugene looked at Katia, then at Vika. Angela sat at home alone. Her daughter was out. Attempts to call her were fruitless. Her husband's cell phone was silent, too. What the hell is going on? She thought. No husband, no daughter. Maybe they're together somewhere. She called Vika. Listen, I don't understand what's going on, I've been home for 2 hours, and my husband and daughter aren't here, and they're not answering their phones. Maybe you know something. I know. Vika answered. I know that you destroyed everything with your own hands. You ruined your family, lost your daughter and husband. Your relationship with Boris is no secret to Katia and Genya. You thought you were the smartest. No, you're the stupidest. Johnny has known everything for a long time, he just loves why. Oh, you and his daughter very much. He called work a few times when you were working overtime. And then he just called the chief. The chief was surprised and told your husband there were no gullies at work. And your husband is in the hospital. He was in a car accident when he had a heart attack while driving. Genya asked me not to tell you anything, and don't worry about Katia, she's at my place. What's she doing at your place? Angela was literally furious. You broke into someone else's family. I told you a long time ago, if you want a good husband, look elsewhere. Did you think of your husband? Echidna asked Vika. You know, I envy you with black envy. Who would love me as much as Johnny loves you? What more do you need in life? You have everything. A loving husband, a daughter, an apartment, a job. I told you too, you can't sit on two chairs. That's enough. Angela interrupted her colleague. Let me speak to my daughter immediately. Hello, Mom. Without intonation in her voice, Katia said hello. Come home at once. I don't want you in that woman's house. Angela said angrily. No, Mom, I don't want to go home. I want to be here with Vika. Then I'll come myself, with the police, and take you home by force. Stop it, Mom, I can tell them that I ran away from home because you're not home all the time, and when you are home, you beat me periodically. And then I'll get the guys at school to corroborate my words. Angela was stunned. How could her daughter talk to her like that? Vika must have taught her that. Daughter, put Vika on the phone. Angela asked in a whiny voice. You bitch. Angela started as soon as Vika picked up the phone. You've already turned my daughter against me. How dare you meddle in our family? She was yelling into the phone. I won't give you anyone, you hear me, no one. This is my family, and I'm not gonna let you destroy it. You already said that. Vika grinned. And I repeat, you ruined everything by trading your love, peace and well-being for Boria. And you? You fucked him, too. Angry, shouted Angela. Yes, and I'm very sorry about that. But I'm a free man, and I didn't have to be faithful to anyone. That's the difference between you and me. If I'd known Boria was a womanizer and a scoundrel before, I wouldn't have even looked at him. I'm going to the hospital to see my husband. Angela interrupted Vika. And after the hospital, I'll stop by and pick up my daughter. Angela hung up. Angela managed to persuade the doctor on duty to let her see her husband. Entering the room, she went to the bed, on which her husband was lying, looking out the window. Zeneka, hello my good man, how are you feeling? Tears involuntarily came to Angela's eyes. The husband turned his head. Why did you come? Asked Eugene. What do you want? What do you mean why? Angela was stunned. I came to check on you, or are you not my husband? Yes, I am. Eugene said. But it's only for now. And you're my wife, but only for now, too. What are you saying, my love? Angela said through her tears. What do you mean for now? For now, it means for a while. In a week, I'll be discharged, and I'll file for divorce right away. What are you talking about, my love? What divorce? Why? Sobbing, Angela asked. Don't ask stupid questions. You know everything yourself. I'm tired of waiting. Your time was up when I told you about your last chance. Apparently, you still care more about relationships on the side than you do about me and Katie. Angela, crying. She felt sorry for herself. She felt sorry for the uncertainty that awaited her in the future, if her husband did divorce her. You what? What kind of relationship? You're all I have. Stop lying, Angela. I know it's that bitch, Vika. She played me. She planned the whole thing to break up our family and marry you off. She even turned my daughter against me. Angela, don't talk nonsense. Eugene made a sour face. I know all about your relationship with Boris. I loved you and waited for you, hoping that you would come to your senses and realize everything. Only you didn't want to think. Darling, it's not true. There is no Boris. I mean, there is, but he's just a coworker, a colleague. What could I possibly have with him? He's a decade younger than me. Angela was still trying to justify herself and get out of the situation, if not victorious, then at least unapologetic. I don't see the point in continuing our meaningless conversation. Eugene made a gesture with his hand, letting Angela realize that the conversation was over. Angela took a vacation at work, at her own expense, and for the rest of the week, literally spent the day and night in the ward, near her husband's bed. Eugene pretended that there was no one around him. His behavior changed only when his daughter appeared in the room. The father and daughter tried not to speak in front of Angela. A few times, the mother tried to talk to her daughter, but constantly ran into a wall of alienation. Dad, Vika wants to come and see you, Katia whispered in her father's ear. But she didn't want to see her mom. Angela was still angry at her daughter and her husband, even though she knew that the blame lay only on her. Yevgeny was visited a couple of times, and Elizaveta Sergeyevna. She was aware of her daughter's adventures, her granddaughter had told her everything. Although Elizaveta Sergeyevna tried to be soft and smiled with her son-in-law, but it was still obvious that she was very tense. With her daughter, she tried to talk to her. And if they did talk, they talked about distracted topics. About the weather, about the neighbor's health, about Eugene's health. Angela's cell phone rang in her purse, and when she saw the number, Redder, she immediately dropped the call. A few seconds later, the call was repeated, Angela dropped it again. Eugene, seeing with what haste and nervousness his wife did it, only smiled sadly. What? Borja is worried. My husband asked after the second call in a row. No, it was from an unknown number. It was Angela. Probably some kind of advertisement again, or a loan offer. I don't have any, Borja. You've been lied to about me. I see the loans. My husband said. So I'm lying to myself. You should at least have the decency to turn off your cell phone when you come to the hospital. Everyone around you is a liar and a bad person. You're the only one who's pure and simple. The week passed quickly, Eugene was discharged. As he had promised his wife, he immediately filed for divorce. During the week, Angela apparently realized that she was losing her daughter, a man who loved her truly, stability and peace of mind. At home, she confessed to her husband that she was having an affair. But she did not want to admit that the affair had lasted more than 6 months. She told her husband that there had been no more than 5 meetings. When she went to work, Angela noticed that Boris paid no attention to her. During the week, the young man had completely switched his attention to the young Natasha, who had come to work with them only 2 weeks ago. Even though Angela had broken up with Boris, her jealousy of him was burning her from the inside. Eugene began to pay all his attention to Vika. Katia was sad, though she was offended by her mother, she still loved her. Elizaveta Sergeyevna gave her daughter a complete scolding. What have you done, Angela? Where else will you find such a man? Believe me, men like your Eugene are not on the road. To exchange such a man for a punk. How could you think of such a thing? Angela was silent. She had nothing to say. She was completely overwhelmed by her thoughts about what she had done and her anxiety about the future. At the trial, Angela refused to divorce. According to the court, Katia was assigned to live with her mother. Although the court determined the child's place of residence, Katia stayed with her father. The now ex-husband did not interfere with the daughter's meetings with her mother. Angela moved in with her mother, taking only her personal belongings and gifts. She quit her job and got a job in a small firm with an all-female staff.